Okay folks, this is it. It's time to work on one of the most important aspects of your short film, if not the most important aspect, the screenplay. Now after last month, you should have a 5-point outline ready to be turned into a 5-page script. Now I'm not a professional screenwriter, but I want to share with you 5 things that have helped me when I have to crank out a short screenplay. Let's first talk about format. Now any screenwriting software you get is going to do all the formatting for you. All you have to do is hit tab to the right spot and start writing. Now this is going to cover your slug line, which is your where and your when, your action block, which is your what and your how, and then your who is your character name and dialogue with the occasional parenthetical thrown in. Now notice I didn't say anything about the why, and that's because if you've written your screenplay effectively, the why is obvious. Remember, you never want a character in your story telling the audience what's going on. You want a screenplay that's showing the audience what's going on. Brevity is the soul of wit, as the old adage goes, and that's really true with screenwriting, especially where those action blocks are concerned. There's no reason you should have an action block longer than 3 or 4 sentences, and descriptions, whether they're characters, objects, or locations, should be kept to 1 sentence. Every time something new happens, skip a space and start a new block. This will help spread everything out on your page, giving you lots of white space and create something that's pleasing to the eye, which will help keep your reader engaged. Remember, just because your writing is more simple doesn't mean it has to be empty or vapid. It just means you have to be more efficient and frugal with your words. The most common thing people associate with screenwriting is dialogue, and they're right. It's what the characters are saying. It's very, very important. And in a short film scenario, it's really important because you have no time to waste. So every time your characters speak, they should either develop their character, move the story forward, or both.
You're eating my lunch.
So not only should the dialogue be purposeful, but it should be true to the characters themselves, meaning it should be things these people would actually say. Well, how do you know what these characters would actually say? Well, you get to know them really well in your head, just like you would get to know a new friend or coworker or whatever. You think about these characters, you think about their history, ask them questions in their head and think about how they would respond. Now, some writers like to treat their script as a shot list with references to camera angles and comments like "we see." And some people think this is okay and others don't. I'm actually of the don't camp. I don't think it's a good idea at all, even if you're going to be directing the script that you've written. Why? Well, you're going to be handing the script out to other people to get them involved or interested in your production. And I guarantee you that if it's written in a technical manner, it's not going to be as interesting to read. Plus, what if you have to hand off your script to someone else to direct it? They're going to throw out all your camera angles and just do whatever they want. That's what directors do. A better way of doing this, in my opinion, is to write your script in such a way that it can only be interpreted one way visually. Consider this as an example. Instead of writing something like, "we see a wide shot of the town," you write it like, "in the distance, the town is a mere speck on the landscape." You can't tell me there's any other way to shoot that except with a wide-angle lens from far, far away. That's what you need to do, is sort of trick the director to doing what you want the way you wrote it. And finally, remember to keep things interesting. The worst sin you can ever commit is to bore your audience, so make sure you have interesting characters, in an interesting place, with an interesting situation, in an interesting conflict, resolved by an interesting ending.
So who is it?
If you can do all these things, you'll have a script that you and others will want to read, and you can turn that script into a movie you and others will want to see. And those are my 5 tips for creating a short, frugal film script. Make sure you look at all the previous installments of this series, and also stay tuned next month. We'll talk about breaking down your script so you can start looking for actors, locations, and props. We'll see you then.